Arkansas Traveler by Pat and Kay Crouch and William Ritter. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for
Glad
having
to be
us.
here.
We're here to talk about the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention.
17 years and running.
17 years, wow. And that's the kind of music you hear.
That's part of it.
Part of it. Part of the music
It's,
you hear.
It's so wonderful because it is a celebration of fiddle music, and the fiddle is used in almost every style of American music because the fiddle got here first, as far as a lot of instruments go. I think it got here before the pipe organ.
I know.
They were
I'd say
easier
that
to bring
did.
on the boat.
I was trying to say they were
That's
a
right.
lot easier to transport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so that's, to me, that's the beauty of the Fiddlers Convention, is that you hear all different styles of music. And so that was a traditional number that William and I wrote. A lot of people play it, but we were the ones who actually
You
composed
actually wrote
it. Yeah,
it.
we actually
we wrote it about 200 years ago.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
But gosh, we used to sing, what is it? Something about a baby bumblebee.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you're right. Yeah,
yes.
so that's maybe people are familiar hearing that song in school. I had a little baby bumblebee.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much the same tune.
children's song, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a new tune. There was a great Americana composer by the name of Guy Clark, and he used that melody and wrote a song about a famous Arkansas fiddle player named Sis Draper. And there's sort of a whole cycle of songs about Sis that Guy Clark wrote, and he co-wrote some of them with Sean Camp and some with other people. But this the mystique of fiddle playing has always amazed me. There were fiddle players on both sides of my family, and when I started playing string music in Caldwell County, there was only one or two fiddle players in Caldwell County that I could find. Then a man named Bob Kogut moved here in the late 1900s, and it was around 1998 maybe, or maybe before then. And he sort of created a fiddle renaissance around here. This is one of Bob's fiddles. He not only plays the fiddle, he builds the fiddle. He thinks fiddle, I believe.
It sounds like it.
And Bob was instrumental in organizing the very first Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention. Let's go back and do a little history on that.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Tony Deal. Let's talk
Right.
about Tony Deal, okay, Bob?
Gosh.
Where do you start?
Where do you start with Tony Dio?
Well, so now the very first, I don't know if this counts as in what we're considering, but there was a Fiddlers Convention at the community college, and I don't know if that's a direct through line to the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention.
If I were a detective, I would let you know that Tony Deal worked at the community college.
Exactly, right.
And
And I
he,
know that he was heavily involved in that, if not running that.
Right. So I think we can trace Tony back to most of this problem.
Right.
Tony Deal, that is.
Tony Deal.
Yeah,
If you want to go way back, there was one in like 1912 or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
We did a program here on that because we found an article in the Lenore News. It was before it had
Right.
merged with the Lenore Topic, that had a list of all of the fiddle tunes that were played and who won and everything. And I think probably Arkansas Traveler was among that list.
Oh, it would
Right.
have been played.
Yeah.
It's the ever popular.
Yeah, if you come to the Fiddlers Convention, you may even hear somebody do it the old-fashioned way, which is you just play a little bit of it, and then you basically tell these long-winded stranger farmer
Right.
joke cycle. It's like, why did you, or your corn looks awful little and yeller, and the farmer says, well, I planted the little yeller kind, and they go back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That reminds me of Hee Haw.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that's where
That's
the
probably-
hee haw,
Yeah, that's that little
that's
skit.
coming out of that mix of vaudeville and
Yeah.
and that sort of country stage humor.
Yeah.
And I think you've just opened the door on the open mic night for joke telling and everything
All right,
else.
yeah.
This-
So
I guess we should say that this is going to be taking place on Labor Day weekend.
oh right, that's important. And easy to
Right.
remember, first, second, third.
Right.
So
Of
we start on
September.
Friday night, and we've had some different programs over the last few years, but generally there's been music on Friday night or dancing. This year we have, like we did last year, we'll have our joke contest, which is also mixed in with the open mic. And the open mic's not a contest itself. It's just an opportunity to get up and share stuff. And there's a lot of great musicians that come. That's one of my favorite parts. So just to see, and there's just so much great music. on Sunday we have a great show of musicians on the stage, but also just so much good music. Just people that come and don't ever set foot on the stage at all. They don't even compete. They just sit down in the campground and they just burn through a bunch of tunes the whole weekend.
The whole weekend.
Yeah, and so that to me is one of my favorite parts is the seeing people that might live in Texas or might live in Alaska or might live in a van in Tijuana, but then they come up and play music.
We have people come from Mississippi, upstate New York, Roadhouse,
Right.
all over.
The eastern seaboard, pretty much. Pennsylvania and Maryland and Virginia.
So it kind of has the feel of a reunion too, to see folks. And so we'll have the joke contest, and anybody can enter into that. Though this year we might have some rules because last year some of the jokes maybe were a little long, and also some of them were maybe a little inappropriate. We're going to rein that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Bring it back to PG.
Right.
Well, the best thing about the joke contest is there's a prize for the best joke and the worst joke.
You could win both.
That's what I like. And and you can, that's what I like about it, William. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just to have that.
Yeah, so we try to keep it fun, and sometimes with competitions, things can be really serious, and people can be kind of nervous and tense. I don't think our festival is like that. I think people feel really welcomed, and I think they feel like they're having a good time. And my advice to anyone that's competing too is don't worry too much about what you're doing as much as just if you're having fun. I think that'll lead you in the right direction. Get up and do something you're comfortable with and enjoy yourself. And
absolutely.
Whenever I've competed in Fiddlers Conventions, I actually think of it as a moment where I have a captive audience and I can force them to listen to whatever I want them to.
You wouldn't do that.
Well, it is a chance to showcase what you might consider to be one of your best tunes, but at the same time, just you know how I am. I like to steal everybody's licks, and that's one thing I really. Not only do I enjoy watching the young players coming along because they've always got a different take. None of this music is really written in a standard form. There are ways to notate traditional music, and a lot of traditional music has been notated, but you won't see it written the same way in any two books. And so it's a regional thing, and people who come from a different state might be playing the same tune you play, but maybe they've got a little different twist on it. Lyrics, I love hearing singing competitions and where people are doing old songs and to hear how those songs have changed over the years. Different people, it's just like you misunderstand a lyric. There are songs I've been singing for 30 years, and I go back and hear the original record and I go, well, that's not what I say.
Yeah.
But or maybe you didn't hear it right the first time, and it was embedded. There's something else. And
that's like that secret Agent Man song. When I was a kid, I thought they were talking about a Honda van, a secret Asian van.
Yeah. There are all kinds of misheard lyrics.
And not just when you're talking about learning from each other and picking up on different twists. I noticed before we started, you looked at William and you're like, how did you play that? And you looked at his fingers.
And I said, how did I play that?
And it was a whole conversation here among you guys. And I imagine a lot of that goes on.
Absolutely. And there's little things there's just little things that you pick up from watching somebody in a live situation that you really might not even notice on a fine TV program like this.
Right.
Like I've got an angle here where I'm seeing William and Kay that the viewer at home wouldn't have.
Exactly.
And so if I wanted to know, like if Kay's making a certain chord on the guitar and I'm wondering, well, why'd she put her thumb down there? I might not see that if I'm sitting at home, but since I'm sitting right here, I learn a lot of things. And I learn a lot of things, humorous stories. When people travel and they get to a place and relax around a campfire, the campfire is like a hospitality situation. We had some visitors from Africa one time, and it was in hot weather here in North Carolina, and I had built a fire. And the African man came to me and said, it's warm, why do you have a fire? And I said, this is hospitality. Because if you've got a fire going, people will say things that they normally wouldn't say.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of camaraderie, is what I'm trying to say, at
There
Happy
is.
Valley, Kay.
Well, and it's a beautiful spot too.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
You can't
gorgeous.
beat it. And a lot of history right there. I mean, of course, with poor Laura Foster's buried up on the hill. And if you just go down the river a little bit, Tom Dooley is buried.
Absolutely.
And Foster's buried somewhere not too far from
Right.
there too.
Kay took the grand tour
Yeah, yes,
with Tony Jones.
I did.
Yeah.
He kidnapped me for 3 hours
And-
one morning and one afternoon,
And there's another person, I think that one thing that's special about our festival is having Tony, who really knows the history of the valley, mostly from just taking an interest from when he was a little boy and going around to barbershops or wherever and just sitting and asking people questions, listening to them, and has a great memory and a lot of knowledge. And if you want to know that knowledge, he will be happy to talk to you.
Oh,
you
he,
know.
well,
Tony Jones is just so wonderful because he would never consider himself a storyteller, but he really is.
Yeah.
And it's all about local history, and he's fascinating. He knows it all.
yeah.
And you have that component there
Sure.
with the music, and it's all right together.
Yeah, a Fiddlers Convention is a competition, and all day Saturday we will have competition in 6 different categories.
Right.
Which
yeah.
are?
We have shrunk things down as we're a little bit scaling back some things about the festival. Is that we used to have double fiddle. We won't have double fiddle this year, so we've lost a few categories in that. And I also think mandolin doesn't have its own category.
Right.
We were only having 2 or 3 people compete for mandolin, so which I hate when 2 people compete. At least one third person should go up there and just hold the instrument and get third place. So we've combined that into our open instrument category, which I love. It's hard on the judges because you're comparing, sousaphone maybe to an accordion, and those are very different instruments. But we do try to be really. We work really hard on getting judges that appreciate a wide range of music, but also are really knowledgeable about the traditional music here. So we do have the open instrument category. That's fun. We have a folk song category for singing traditional songs. There's, of course, fiddle and banjo. And then we have the string band category, which used to be divided up into bluegrass and old time. But I felt like maybe it was time to rematriate the traditions together. And I'd like to see, too, that we not just focus on these as 2 different traditions, which they kind of are, but they're not in some ways. But to just acknowledge that there's also other old traditions in the valley too, like a great Piedmont blues traditions in the area, and I think to acknowledge that, I'd love to see a traditional string band like that get up and compete. I mean, that's old time in its own right too. So there's a great diversity of music that was traditional in the valley that we try to showcase, and we love to hear and encourage that. So.
Absolutely.
We also have a dance category in the
do?
competition.
Oh, yes, right.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
Yes.
fine. You're lovely.
Yes.
Talk about Rodney Sutton while you're talking about dancing.
Yeah, right. So
We're gonna
we'll
have
also-
is Rodney going to be there this year?
Yeah, he is.
Ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen, it's worth taking a day to meet Rodney Sutton. I'm just going to tell you,
Yeah.
the day I met him changed my life. I'm still paying for it, but but it's been a great journey to meet that man.
Yeah, he is really an incredible dancer, and also just knows everybody.
Yes.
I sometimes will catch myself saying, "Do you know Rod?" And I realize, of course, they do. Everyone knows Rodney Sutton.
Right.
But he's really just a fun character and a great dancer, a great dance teacher. He'll be leading a dance in one of the breaks during our Saturday competition, which the competition runs from 10 to about 10. I mean,
It's
over
about
the course of the
12
day, there's
hours,
some
yeah.
breaks. And one of those breaks in the evening, he's going to go up to the barn and teach people kind of beginner flat-footing, which is really, it's honestly not all that hard, and it's a good thing to get your feet wet or cornmeal. He likes to throw out some
Yeah, he
cornmeal.
likes some cornmeal.
But only organic, I think. I've not seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's really a treasure, and we'll have some good dancers this year. I've actually had some call me that are coming from multiple states away, and are good dancers. They're going to be there. And also on the Sunday show, we'll have the Burnett sisters, who are great musicians. great singers, and also really good dancers too. So that's definitely not something to miss. And who knows, they might come compete too. So
Yeah.
you might see them both days. And
Saturday,
so-
there are a lot of children's activities too.
Yes.
We'll
yes.
have workshops, or not workshops, but showcases from the Junior Appalachian Musicians Program, the Jam Program. Bob Henson and
Mary Irvin.
Mary Irvin, I think, may be taking part this year. And but we also have a lot of things, kids' activities that are non-musical activities, you know,
Right.
where they make puppets and swords.
I think that sets us apart from other fiddlers
Sure.
conventions,
Does-
in that a lot of times there's kids running around doing stuff at fiddlers conventions, but the fiddlers convention doesn't go out of its way to say, like, here's a
Right.
tent with a bunch of crafts and a bunch of things to do. And also there's the river there. So it's a great place to take your kid down. It's pretty shallow.
Yes, it is.
But,
They have rubber duck races.
oh yes, right.
Down the
Yeah,
Yadkin.
we do. I don't know if we're doing that for sure this year, but
Oh,
we
okay.
usually are. We probably are. It's a fundraiser for Pathways, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be a rubber ducky race. That's always fun.
Yeah.
And it's just a good, fun family time. And again, a beautiful spot. It really celebrates, not just the musical heritage, but also agricultural heritage, and the history of the valley. It's a really great festival. We are calling it the final festival, though of course you never know. Things may rise from the ashes like a phoenix. That could always happen. I don't think the door is being completely shut on future festivals, maybe by a different name, or maybe the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention will come back. But this might be your last chance.
Yeah.
Very well might be your last chance to come see it. So I do recommend come out. It's something that everyone was telling me, you need to go to the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention, and I never went until I finally moved to Happy Valley. And I wish I had gone before then, because it was really just a special little Fiddlers Convention,
Yeah.
I think.
My
It's also
favorite
free
thing on
this year.
Saturday, K-Bob.
Yes.
My favorite thing on Saturday, at high noon, just like in the Old West, at high noon on Saturdays, the kiddie parade.
Oh,
the
yes.
kitty, I was a little concerned
Is
there
it-
when you said high noon.
I thought it was at 4 o'clock, but anyway.
It may be at 4
There is
o'clock.
There is a
Well, there's
schedule on the
kitty
website.
parade,
Yeah.
so
But,
just
and
know
that's Christy Arney and Sharon Carter.
Underwood.
Underwood.
Yeah. Yes.
They have a big part in that. So we don't want to leave out the kiddie parade.
Yeah,
Kids
yeah.
parade.
The first time I was in the kiddie parade, I was walking between two Australians. You're talking about people coming from faraway places to Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention.
Yeah.
I was standing between two Australians playing Arkansas Traveler
Right. That's
in the first
tune,
kiddie
right?
in the first kiddie parade.
Yeah.
So there's a multicultural experience for me.
There you go.
And like Kay was saying, in the past it's been free for 15-year-olds and younger. Now it's also free for 15-year-olds and older.
That's right.
So everyone is free this year. The camping's not free if you come out to camp. There is a fee for that goes to the farm there. But this year, it really to celebrate the many years that we put this on, celebrate the community, and have a big party, invite everybody. We're inviting everyone with the fact that there's no tickets this year. It's,
Right.
it's just free.
Come
Yeah.
on out.
So
And the camping is a lot of fun too.
It
There's
is.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night would be, for 3 days, it'd be $25. And it is primitive camping, but there will be campers out there in tents. And
and I hear that
Cars.
there's actually going to be an electric shower.
I heard that,
Yes.
with hot water.
Yes. Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of a
That's
pasture.
so that's something we actually, our showers I don't think didn't work. The primitive shower didn't work last
Right.
year, but in the past there'd been a gas one, but now we're gonna have there's an electric one.
Yeah.
So
And,
exciting.
but the gates are going to open on Wednesday, so if you want to come out early on Wednesday and Thursday night, you can camp, that's $10 a night, or even stay, I think most people just stay Sunday night, but
yeah.
for Liver Mush Monday on Monday. But
Right,
it
right.
continues, all these things in the valley have sort of grown up around
They
the Fiddlers
have.
Convention. People who stay on Sunday night will go down to the Grocery Basket in beautiful downtown Ferguson and get Margie and her daughter to cook you up some liver mush, or any other thing that you would like to eat for
It's
breakfast.
a full breakfast menu.
Full breakfast
Right.
menu.
Yeah.
And of course, since a lot of musicians are there are more tunes and
More,
more
awesome.
tunes.
On Saturday, it's competition and there are prizes. Talk a little bit about the prizes.
The prizes are actually really big
Really
Yeah.
big prizes.
for a little convention like ours. We have first, second, and third place in all of the categories that William mentioned. So the open instrumental, song, folk singing, dancing, guitar, banjo, and fiddle, and band. So the individual ones, the first prize is $150, second prize is $75, and third is $50.
Do you have that on your list
I
there?
do.
That's definitely
That's
not,
right.
I mean, I'm the one that like types those
That's right.
numbers into the website, but I don't remember that.
And then the
They're
band
good.
competition, which is just the one category, band and so
String band.
String band. It's $750 for first place, and $550 for second, and $450 for third place. So people who have bands, or people don't have bands but know a bunch of musicians who want to put together a band for the
Yeah.
weekend, because that happens too.
That's
Can
one of my
come
favorite
down and-
things.
that's
too.
right.
It'd be like, you all sound great together. That's like we just met an hour ago.
That's
you know?
right. It's amazing. That's actually one of my favorite things about
Yeah.
about playing this music. Yeah, so it's very worthwhile. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it'd be really a good paycheck to come out if they aren't playing that night.
Right.
Come on out. $750 first prize.
Yeah, that's pretty
I'd
good.
like to get that.
For playing 6 songs.
That's right.
Is that right? You have to go through the
so-
preliminary and then into the final?
Right. And the rules, specific rules are on the website.
Yes. Which is happyvalleyfiddlers.org.
Yes, yes. You can go on there and find out all the information you need to know about camping and this and that. And if you have something that you can't find out or figure out looking on the website, just send us a message and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. It is a kind of a skeleton crew though, so we might not instantly get back to you.
Skeleton crew
But
with a new
speaking of
baby.
a skeleton crew, we are having let's call it a barn beautification day.
Yes.
I was trying to say that's a traditional part of this event.
It's organic.
Yes, yes.
all
so,
natural.
yeah, so last year the barn was mostly beautified by me, by myself, and that wasn't a very strategic way to approach a
Especially
barn.
since it hadn't happened in 3 years.
It hadn't been, because of the 2 years we missed with COVID,
Yeah.
it actually hadn't been, barn hadn't been cleaned in quite some time. So a lot of things had accumulated, but it worked out in the end. But I think
lot of
rather
things.
than having me and maybe last year I think Bob Kogut helped me, Kay helped me a little bit, but we're actually going to go back to what we used to do earlier, I think in the earlier days of the festival, and actually invite some people out. That's going to be on the Saturday preceding Happy Valley. So it's the 26th, I believe.
26.
Yeah, so 10 a.m. we'll be out there. Going to bring a bunch of coffee, and we'll probably have some music out there, and some fellowship. And if anyone is excited by the prospect of helping us clean out that, it is a cow pasture. We do
It
turn
is,
a
yeah, it's
cow
a working
pasture, a
cattle
working farm, into a festival. And so it would be nice to have a kind of many hands make light work approach to it.
So everyone's invited, 10
Yes.
a.m.
Yes.
on Saturday the 26th. And you get to meet a lot of nice cows.
Yes.
You can wade in the river. If you get a little overheated, you can go cool off in the Yadkin River.
You might even get to hear Tony call his cows. He's got a really nice traditional holler for calling his cows in.
Yeah.
But that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to coming down for that.
One of the things that's different about the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention that from others is that on Sunday it's actually more of a festival situation. We bring in guests to play on the main stage, and William and his beautiful wife Sarah Ogletree.
Ogletree,
Yeah, I almost said Oglethorpe. I don't know
Yeah.
where that came from. Ogletree.
Well, they're kin. All the Ogles. Yeah.
Are going to start us off at noon, and that's going to be followed by.
So yes, after that we have Doug Sharkey and I've got a 5-month-old.
Steve
at home.
Kruger.
Steve Kruger, yes, Steve Kruger. They're great musicians. I'm really looking forward to them. So they'll be there. And then we also have a friend of y'all's playing. Is this it's
Michael
not the
Reno
first
Harrell.
time that he's played at the festival,
Michael
is it?
Reno Harrell, yeah, it's the first time he's been on the Happy Valley Festival, but he has appeared on the Caldwell Traditional Musicians Showcase a couple of times, and Michael is known in this area. He moved to Burke County about 10 years ago, and so he's played a lot of shows in Burke County. He's also appeared at the Hickory Community Theater Fireman's Kitchen. He has a really successful show there once a year. And William, you and Michael will be helping K-Bob and me do the Scary Show at the community college on Halloween,
Yeah.
October 31.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we'll get a chance to, Caldwell County people get a chance to hear Michael at Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention. But then later on we'll do the show's called Murder and Mayhem coming up, of course, on Halloween when it should be.
Right.
And so we're all going to be hanging out a little bit this fall. Michael, he has exceeded regional. He's actually a nationally known storyteller. And we're just so proud to have him as a friend of local music. Michael shows up for the open mic at Liquid Roots. He's liable to show up at any live music performance because not only is he a great musician and storyteller, songwriter, he's a big fan of music, and he's a lifelong learner, and he fascinates me. I've had the pleasure of working with him on live shows, and I've had the pleasure of making CD recordings with him, traveling with him, just a joy, a delightful person. So if you've never seen the Michael Reno Harrell show, you should come
Now's
to
your
Happy
chance.
Valley Fiddlers Convention and catch it on Sunday. He will amaze you. And he makes you so proud to be a Southerner.
And,
Does.
Another thing we should be proud of.
That's right.
Well, and there's another band that's been asking us for years to play, and we finally let Strictly Clean and Decent get on the stage. Actually, they've been every single year, I think. Have you missed any?
We did some of the early
Some
ones.
of the early
Yeah.
ones we missed because I was still in diapers. But we're going to have a special guest this year,
Yeah.
and we're there's a world-class fiddle player. Speaking of Fiddlers Convention again, there's a fellow that I met. At the time I met him, he was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was basically a person whose name I did not recognize. But when he picked up the fiddle, I recognized everything that was coming out of that fiddle, and it was world-class.
He's
And his
great.
name is Tim Higgins, and Tim has recently moved to Saluda. He and his wife Nancy. And they both play music, but Tim's going to be our guest on our Strictly Clean and Decent set, and we're really looking forward to that. Tim has played at Happy Valley before as a guest of the Harris Brothers. He's also sat in with the Kruger Brothers at Happy Valley, and so this year we captured him. One year, the funniest year, one year Tim Higgins and I got a chance to play a set with Roger Hicks. Roger Hicks is a great Caldwell County guitar player and potter,
Yes.
and just, you talk about humor and entertaining. If you've never met Roger Hicks, you need to. But one year, Tim and I had the pleasure of playing Roger's set, and you know, that's for me. These are the memories that I'll have the rest of my life. Nobody can take that away from me. The joy, you know, and that's the one word that always comes to mind when I think about Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention, is that there's such joy. And you can have joy in the least of things, in the tiniest things can cause joy, K-Bob.
It is the Happy Valley.
It's happy,
Convention,
yeah.
After all,
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
And so after Strictly Clean and Decent with Tim Higgins plays, we're going to close out the entire festival with the Burnett sisters from Boone.
Yes, back after a popular, many demands made to us. It was like we were really happy to get them back this year. We thought maybe we weren't able to, but we worked it out. So we're excited to have them as a local group, growing up there in Boone and coming through the jam program. Some of the many gifted students that have come through Cecil Gerganis's tutelage up there.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing that we've really focused on at Happy Valley is the jam program. And I think even it was initially started maybe actually it's older than jam, but
Yes.
I know that we've funded jam many years, and that we've had a jam tent. This year we'll have a jam barn where the junior Appalachian musicians can go play, and we'll have a little showcase for them. And I really think it's important that we give a platform and a moment for young musicians. I know that when I was younger and scraping away badly at the fiddle, and these kids are a lot better than I was, that it really made a big difference, the kind of support that I got from people, whether it was just in church and they were inviting me to go up and sing and play the guitar, or the folks that I'd sit around and play with, or the people that take me up on stages and perform. That encouragement made all the difference in the world, and I think you never know where someone will end up with their music, and so the more you can do to appreciate them. And two, I would say, I think that I'm personally seeing this. I don't know if either of you have noticed this. I feel like I've seen less and less of what I would consider traditional, kind of Appalachian bluegrass or old time music. I've seen less of that live. Like if I go to a brewery or something, there was a period where I was seeing, I feel like I could just go anywhere to hear bluegrass, but I haven't actually just stumbled upon a bluegrass band in many years. So I think it's important that we think of ways to make sure that we get out there and support venues, whether they're restaurants or what have you, festivals that have that kind of music, because otherwise it's kind of feeling a little bit like a threatened tradition, It can't just be sustained by the people that play it. It needs people that want to dance to it or want to listen to it and come out and support it. So
We need another movie.
Oh.
It's usually after.
Yeah, where's the next Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Exactly, usually after
it's
movies like
it's called
that.
Billy Strings.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
well, that's
Yeah,
true.
Right.
Let me tell you, here's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Billy Strings, Prince's set list, and he's the young people. That's when I was young, it was Bill Monroe and Stanley Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs, and then there was a whole generation of people. It was Tony Rice and Bela Fleck and Sam Bush. Well, now it's Billy Strings. Billy Strings, Prince's set list, and last month I looked at the set list that I had online from Billy Strings, and he's playing 100 of my songs. And I tip my hat to this man because he's got an audience, he's got a world audience, but yet he's got the old war horses, the traditional numbers. He'll have 4 or 5 on every show. He'll have Molly and Ten Brooks. He'll have Blue Moon of Kentucky. He'll have Vamp in the Middle, a song that Kay and I are going to play, a John Hartford song. And John's not necessarily really old school, but Hartford was a traditional fiddle player and made a living playing traditional music, a great living playing traditional music.
And dancing.
But you said, where's the next movie? So the next movie really is literally Billy. And he was raised by a man who played basically old music. And so all of that old music went into young Billy, and he still shares it with the world, and I applaud him for that. I really do.
Sure.
And I think he's brought a lot of people, speaking of the young folks, a lot of people have come in, and once they get there, then they want to dig deeper too. And I see a lot of although we don't have a lot of bluegrass bands in Caldwell County these days, we do have a lot of people who are digging into Americana and blues and some roots music.
Right, yeah.
And another thing I noticed, when I was a kid, we felt like we had to have the same instrumentation as the Beatles or the Monkees or somebody to have a band,
Yeah.
But a lot of these new bands that are on the circuit playing now, some of them don't have a drummer, some of them don't have a bass player. There's no set formula, we felt like we had to have a set formula.
Yeah.
And we were more or less copying a lot of things. But I do see a lot of young players doing it their own, like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way.
Right.
And so they're digging up some stuff. They're digging up some cool old music, and I think the tradition's in good hands. It's just the main thing is we've made people aware like William talked about, the fact that we got all these great musicians who are going to come to Happy Valley. So everybody's aware of that. We got people talking, and people are saying, oh, all those musicians are going to be out there. The next thing is if we could just get some folks to come out, you know, bring your son or your daughter and meet some of these great players, because they're accessible. They're just like you. They're walking to the concession stand and walking to the restroom. And you can meet everybody, and you can howdy and shake. You can have a chance to touch a great musician like I just did right there.
I'll probably be running around like my hair's on fire, but you're welcome to meet me.
William,
If you can keep a sprint.
Yeah, if you keep a
William-
good steady pace, I'm happy to talk.
William calms down in the evenings, and sometimes early in the morning you can catch him fairly calm. Now, last year on Monday, the Yadkin River started rising,
Oh,
and my friend Alec Bernhardt came around. Alec came around the side of the tent, and I could barely see his eyes under his poncho. And he looked at me and he said, "This is biblical." And so the river was rising, and we were all trying to get out of there. And I had a couple of kayaks, and I had a couple of campers, and I decided my campers were more expensive than my kayaks. And so got the campers out, and I came back to look for the kayaks, and they weren't down by the river. And St. William there had dragged my kayaks up to the higher ground for me. And so that's the kind of things William does.
Wow.
He's a great humanitarian, saver of boats.
And
you
box
know,
turtles.
that's important when
And
you live
box
by the
turtles,
river.
Yeah,
I'm
well, it
just
is. You know, well, I mean, I was seeing trees going by. I was seeing coolers going by from some other thing upstream. So I tried to get around and make sure nobody, because they'd all left to go have Liver Mush Monday, just about everybody.
Yeah, we didn't realize it was coming a monsoon.
Right. Which, you know, can always happen. But of course,
Sure.
you never can count on any kind of weather for a outdoor festival. We're hoping for the best. We
Yeah.
do have tents and
Yeah, well, last year the weather was perfect for 3 days, and it was only when everybody was breaking camp that we got any rain at all. And rain's nice; it can slow you down a little bit and
right.
let you take stock in humanity and what's going on.
Yes, it can.
It can.
Well, speaking of weather, this is rain or shine,
It
camping
is,
and
yeah.
everything. And we, since it is a free festival, we've reduced the size of some of the tents that we're using. So we're encouraging people to bring their own chairs. And even if they wanted to bring little canopy,
Pop-up things, yeah.
covers and stuff.
Parasol, you know.
Right, sure. They can set up on the outside of the tents. We encourage that. Dogs are allowed on the camping area on a leash, but not in the concert area. And children should be kept on leash. No.
Should be
What else do
supervised
we
for
need
sure,
to talk
yeah.
about?
Children and some adults should be
Right,
That's right,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, we try to keep a good eye on Patrick and make sure he doesn't play the trombone.
It was a bittersweet moment. I was in the presence of talking about how accessible people are.
Right.
I had read about a banjo player named Travis Stewart. I had only read articles about how this man played the banjo. Then I got a recording of him, and I listened to this guy playing the banjo, and I just thought, oh my heavens, this is some of the best music I've ever heard in my life. At Happy Valley, I was sitting in a tent playing music beside of this man. Here he is. So I sat there about 3 hours, and they're playing old time, and Travis is playing, and Travis and I are talking.
And this is
You're
starting
stealing
at,
licks, yeah.
starting at midnight.
So when we walk out of the tent, for some reason, I had a trombone, and Travis had a clawhammer banjo, and we looked at each other, and we started playing every tune we could remember from growing up in the Baptist church. So we played about every tune in the Baptist hymnal on a clawhammer banjo and a trombone.
Wow.
And we didn't
Only at Happy Valley.
we didn't realize it, William, but eventually lanterns were being turned out, and we saw embers of campfires dying down, and eventually in the cold gray light of almost dawn, Travis looked at me and said, "Well, I've enjoyed it, but I think I'm going to get some sleep." And so he walked one way to his campsite, and I walked the other way to my campsite. And as I was walking toward the campsite, I do what trombone players love to do. I opened my spit valve. I was going to let some moisture out. And when I did that, it made a note. And then that note came back to me about 10 times because it had echoed all the way through Happy Valley. And it inspired me so much that I played my trombone all the way to my tent. Well, the next morning, Tony Deal came and issued an edict that we would no longer play the trombone at 4 a.m. So
I think that's
You're welcome to play the trombone, right? Yeah. Well,
I can't, there it was.
well,
The Baptist hymnal and the trombone got me in big trouble.
I will say, I mean, I think that's an important thing to know about the festival. If you're coming to camp, if you would like to go to bed at a reasonable hour, and if it will bother you to hear music playing within earshot, maybe distantly, maybe close, there are places where we would suggest you park that. So probably the further you get from the river,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the less you'll hear people playing very late. But if you're right on the river where most people come down and camp, there's some jams that might only stop when the sun comes up, and that's
Right.
just a part of the tradition. I mean,
Yeah,
it really is.
yeah.
But just so you know that if you're coming to camp, just
We-
camp.
We do have a quiet section.
Right. There are some quiet
And
sections.
then we have the jam section.
Yeah, so it's good to be aware of that.
And it's great for people who live here locally to come out and camp too. I mean, don't
Yeah.
expect that you have to, live from 50 miles away to get a campsite. Just
great.
come on out.
Great
Right.
If
fun.
you live in Roadhead, you can come on
That's
out
right.
and camp.
Right.
I love Roadhiss. I taught at Granite Falls Middle School for 30 years, and that was the home of my students. And also when I was a young boy, my dad and my Uncle Clyde and me, that was our fishing hole, was right there on the backside of the Roadhiss Dam. So I spent many a fine hour in Roadhiss as a child, and it's still a fascinating place to me. I love the Burke Mill is still there in Roadhiss. Part of the old horseshoe dam that was there before the Roadhiss Dam is still there. And I love those steel bridges. There used to be in my youth, there were two steel bridges across the Catawba River that would lead you into Caldwell County. And of course, they've both been replaced now. But
Right.
I love seeing those pictures, and I have a lot of memories from those times. And just proud to be in Caldwell County, from the south end to the north end, from the east end to the west end. I agree with my buddy Carolina Ray Wisnett. Carolina Ray was a merchant marine. He sailed around the Mediterranean. He was in almost every country in Europe. And one day we were leaving Collettsville, heading toward Brown Mountain Beach, and we were on the Attico Road. And just as we got to the top of Attico Hill, Carolina Ray looked at me and said, "Patty, I wouldn't trade Caldwell County for all of Europe." He thought this was the best place to live, and I do too. And the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention is one of the things that makes it's special. If you've never been there and never had a chance to get out in the fresh air and see all the smiles, and the fiddles are always smiling. I had a great uncle, Charlie Knight, and Charlie Knight lived in the big town of Bayton, North Carolina, but he was an entrepreneur who had a business in Whitnall, and it was called Charlie Knight's Store. And Uncle Charlie would play the fiddle. If any musicians showed up, Uncle Charlie just get the fiddle and sit down, and when customers came in, he'd say, "Just leave your money on the counter," because he was playing music. And
Don't let work
Don't
yeah,
let work get away from
Yeah,
you.
get
yeah.
right.
And we're going to play one of Uncle Charlie's tunes to close out. I guess we should say, if y'all want to wrap it up, if there's anything.
Yeah, maybe we should
that
give
we've-
logistics one more time,
Yeah,
just
sure.
to remind people, dates, times, all that good
Right,
stuff.
so Happy Valley has always been on Labor Day weekend, and that's easy to remember this year because it's the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd.
1, 2, 3.
September. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost anything to get in this year. There are fees for camping. You can pay for the whole weekend, or it's $10 a day before or after. Some people stay a little
Absolutely.
longer and start a little earlier,
Yep.
which is really nice. I enjoy it and recommend it. That's one of my favorite times down there. And you can go on the website, happyvalleyfiddlers.org. You can find out, hopefully, all the answers to your questions. And if not, you can reach us on Facebook or through our contact page. If you want to register to compete, you can go on the website and pre-register and make sure there's a slot for you, because we only have so many slots. But also, you can come day of and register there too. I haven't looked at the registrations, but I think we have plenty of room. But it is, nice it makes it easier on everyone. If you can pre-register online, then it's quick. You go in, you don't have to write anything down. They hand you all or I think they might even mail some of it to you. But anyway, it makes it a lot easier if you can pre-register. So yeah, all that information's on there. And again, we have a great lineup on Sunday. Saturday, or Sunday is our artist. That's with the Burnett Sisters and Strictly Clean and Decent and many other performers. And then on Saturday, we'll start at 10. We'll have the competitions. That basically goes all day. And Friday is our joke contest, and that starts in the evening with the open mic there too.
Open mic and a cakewalk.
Oh, and cakewalks, yes. Oh, right, yeah.
Many
yeah,
opportunities,
cakewalks.
yeah.
And there's opportunity for that. Maybe if you don't like to walk after cakes, but you like to make a cake, like that, we really appreciate. We appreciate donations of all kinds. But cakes are great. If anyone wants to bring one for our cakewalk, just let us know if it's gluten-free or sugar-free or anything like that, or has nuts in it, I guess. Yeah, we love to do that. The kids really enjoy the cakewalk, especially sometimes they think they get to keep the whole cake for themselves, but their horrified parents are making them share it because that's a lot of sugar. But it's really fun. Great way to make friends. Come win the cake contest or cakewalk. And it's a good tradition that we also try to uphold too.
Right, and this is on Highway 268 in Happy Valley, about halfway between Lenore and Wilkesboro, on the Tony Jones farm, or the site of Laura Foster's grave.
Jones family farm, I think.
It is.
Right.
I'm sorry. He and his brother, I think.
Yes, and so there's also, I think if you go on Google, it actually we have a little marker.
Yes.
Not only is there the Laura Foster grave on Google, but also the Happy Valley Fiddlers Convention is on there. So it'll take you right there. It's in a big bend.
Yes, right on the Yadkin River. Bring a
Right.
swimming suit.
Right. Yeah.
And August 26th?
Oh yes, so that is the barn
barn.
beautification day. Yeah.
Barn beautification.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to that. So, and that's about it. Well, Patty, you want to do this little tune?
Absolutely. This was recorded at the 37th Annual Old Time Fiddlers Convention in Union Grove, North Carolina.
I believe at the Library of Congress, right? I
Yes,
believe. Yeah.
absolutely. And performed by my great uncle Charlie and his country music boys. And today it's going to be performed by my great uncle William and Kay and me. And
Kay.
this tune's called River Stay Away From My Door, and we just couldn't resist. So we hope you enjoy it. River Stay Away From My Door. Come to Happy Valley.
Come to Happy Valley. Thank you for being here and
Thank
for playing
you.
for us. And thank you for watching Caldwell County Today.